Our current paradigm was created by those men and women who are now long gone. Their sacrifice and dedication made it possible for the United States to become the world's lone superpower. Almost 40% of the economy had something to do with agriculture back then. Now it is less than 3%. Back then, people could farm on their own gardens, raise their own livestock, and take care of themselves. Now we rely upon corporate food, and the food that we get has no nutritional value. Back then, people knew what real wealth was. They had gold and silver in their money. Now we think the digits in our brokerage account is wealth. Back then, people had a strong family and community support systems to help them. Multi-generational housing was very common. Now we live little lives of narcissism. Our families have been split up and divided and conquered. Back then, people had strong spiritual strength. Now we have chemically induced denial. Back then, people were of fit body and strong mind. Now we're obese and willingly ignorant. Back then, people had a classical education to help them figure things out. Now we have to wait for answers. Back then, people had a real economy. Now all we have is a consumer debt economy. Back then, people did physical activity for fun. Now we have entertainment that turns our minds and our bodies into mush. Let's take a few seconds to look at some of the faces of the Great Depression. Look at the faces of these people and ask yourself, do you think that if given a chance to do something different than the path they chose before the Great Depression, they would? Do you think that these people were aware and prepared for a collapse? Do you think that they had the mental or physical assets in place to deal with this new paradigm? Do you think that you are better than these Americans? If you think it's hard to hear your child cry when they don't get their way, wait until they can't get food. If you think it's hard to get a job in this economy, wait until there is no economy. Can you imagine strapping all your family's wealth into a car and then traveling across country with the hopes of actually finding a job? Right now, the average American is actually worth less than a Bangladeshi peasant. The reason why is because that peasant does not have trillions of dollars worth of debt tied around their necks. They may be poor, but they're not in debt. The very real world coming takes a lot of effort and patience to succeed, and that is something that our society is in short supply of. While tent cities are popping up here and there, the real crippling of poverty is just getting started. The generation that made it through the Great Depression would often say, "We didn't have much, but we had each other." This stands in stark contrast to today, where we have so much, but no one to share it with. We can survive anything together, but when the average American family has been divided and conquered, we have very little hope. The generational support system has been ripped from our human experience, and it is a key of getting back on our feet. Emotionally tough people can make it through anything. They can move on and adapt. But emotionally weak people break because they've never been challenged. Those that have been bred to thrive in a collectivist paradigm, to do as they're told and not ask questions, will be left destitute when there is no one to tell them what to do as the paradigm collapses. Only those with the power of critical thinking will be able to adapt to this new reality. Physical poverty is one thing, but mental poverty is quite another. Everything you know is probably dependent upon this paradigm. Ask yourself this question: what real value do you have to a post-dollar collapse environment? How many men sacrificed time with those that mattered, chasing after an illusion that failed them the moment they reached for it? Think about all those things that we work so hard for and how quickly they can become worthless when the paradigm collapses. McMansions and Ponzi scheme retirements are the real dream, while now the only dream that they have is about the real relationships and opportunities long gone. Men will be split from their families as they seek opportunities far and wide. And women will have to endure not only their world falling apart, but trying desperately to shield their children from a harsh new reality. How many mothers do you think are going to sit and regret that they did not prepare themselves or their children for a collapse? How many wish that they had not wasted their time and energy and money chasing after things that mean nothing? After all, how important is fashion, soap opera, and reality TV? Perhaps the most famous picture of the Great Depression was of Florence Owens Thompson, taken by Dorothea Lange. Dorothea Lange wrote in her notes from the 10-minute photo shoot, 7 hungry children. The father is a native Californian, destitute in pea pickers' camp because of their failure of the early pea crop. These people had just sold their tires to buy food. I did not ask her name or her history. She had told me her age, and that she was 32 years old. She said that they'd been living on frozen vegetables from the surrounding fields and the birds the children killed.